Okay, so we were lucky enough to catch the man, the myth, the legend, Dan Green on his Florida trip. He came into hybrid and he's going to do a little bench tutorial for us. We have our own bench daddy, Alex Usler here, and we're going to be Dan's dummies.
He's going to walk us through some of the key setups for bench as far as he likes to cue it, as far as shoulder positioning, legs, different things like that. Anything else you're going to run us through, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, once we start benching, we'll get through everything. Because I mean, setup is good. We got to have to kind of set up the wrists and the shoulders and the legs. Those are all important things to consider. But we also have to make sure that when we're actually benching, we're moving the bar right. So that's kind of an important part too. All right, so you usually get a pretty wide grip. You get the index fingers out on the rings.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, just go and set up like how you would normally set up. And yeah, so this all looks pretty good so far. Let's just see how you move. So yeah, the first thing I would say is when we're starting with the light weights, let the wrists settle as much as you can. So you don't need to crush the bar like it's 400 pounds right now. Just think about kind of letting it rest there, letting your wrists kind of settle in, almost bending back a little bit. Yeah, this will let you feel the shoulders and chest doing a little more of the work on the warm-up sets, and the triceps don't need to be fully engaged with that tight grip. So with the warm-up sets, you want to get a little feedback by keeping it lighter. And when you bring it down, I don't want you to bring it down quite as low either.
Okay.
You bring it down onto the floating ribs, but we'll just bring it down right to the sternum. So at that very last couple inches on the way down, you're going to really have to kind of pull it in. So you're actually, go ahead and lower it slower. You just want to bring it right. So stay tight, but you want to touch a little higher than you were before. So you're kind of relying on that leg drive to go from a little bit too low on the chest to a little, to getting it back over the chest where you can press it. The only problem is there's that moment where you lose a lot of your strength. And so if we're touching too low, we're going to lose a lot of our strength development over time. You can rack it.
Good chest pump holding that for so long.
So you're saying with the higher bar placement, you can get more out of your leg drive?
What I would say is leg drive is great to kind of put the most weight on the bar when you're actually in a competition. But as far as training and getting stronger week in, week out, month to month, year to year, if you're relying on the leg drive, that's it's like short-circuiting some of the gains that you're going to make in terms of developing your chest and shoulder strength. Just because the bar path that you're taking takes the weight off of the chest and shoulders for a little bit, the more weight we can kind of handle as we're lowering the bar, the more we're actually utilizing the chest and shoulders. We can always add the leg drive in at the meet or at the the day when we're kind of seeing how well we move the weight. But as far as just general development, we really want to control the weights that are controllable just with the chest and shoulders and arms before we add in the legs. So when I would do these for you, obviously the lightweight warming up, you want to kind of minimize the advantages you take with the leg drive. So if you use the most favorable setup right away, you're barely even feel the weight.
Absolutely, yeah.
So what we want to do is actually feel the weight, so we kind of feel what the chest and shoulders should be doing. Are they actually engaging at the very bottom of the lift, or are they just kind of dumping the bar into the position where your legs are going to reverse the weight?
So would you do entire portions of a training cycle where you would do no leg drive at all, or would you always keep that so you're familiar with it and then also do variations of the lift without leg drive and stuff like that?
Yeah, you gotta practice what you need. So if you bench with a lot of leg drive for a long time, it's something that needs minimal practice at that point. And so the things that'll make you stronger that don't involve so much leg drive, those probably will comprise more of your training. If you have a certain amount that you need to do with the leg drive just to kind of maintain that skill, that's how I would do it. But if learning to use the leg drive is kind of new for somebody, probably doing it on a weekly basis is more helpful, or even several times a week if they train their bench a lot.
What about shoulder positioning? How do you cue the shoulders? That's a big common fault that we see with a lot of our online athletes is getting the shoulders into the proper position. How would you cue that?
So I like to, when I'm setting up, I like to just think about kind of doing like a small pull-up off the bench, or squeezing the shoulder blades together. Really, that's all it is. You're just retracting the shoulder blades or pinching the shoulder blades together. We want to hold that position, so when we lock out, we're not trying to like reach through, kind of pushing with the like pec minor, but we're just locking out with the elbow, just the tricep locking out. That takes a degree of lat tightness, and if you see like the sternum sticking up high, that's the sign of like proper upper back engagement. So if the sternum is sticking up, that's one thing that it's not really a product of like your legs creating an arch, it's more thoracic extension, so just keeping the upper back up. Now if your lats are engaged well, then that'll keep your elbows in line with the bar as you press better, and will also hold your sternum up at the same time. So that's what we want to see from the back, that the sternum stays high and the shoulder blades kind of never really let go. Shoulders stay in place as the triceps lock the elbows out. So that's looking pretty good so far. You got the wrists kind of a little more relaxed in the warm-ups, touching right at the base of the chest. And the advantage here is once you start to press up, it's not going to drift low where your hips need to lift off the bench to correct the bar. When you press from that spot, it's going to drift back over the chest where you're going to feel stronger. So yeah, part of what we're talking about is touching the right spot so you can develop chest and shoulder strength. If you touch too low, you kind of miss out on developing the chest strength. And then as you press, if you touch too low, you're going to press in a low bar path. And that also means you're relying too much on the shoulders, not enough on the chest. So we want to touch the right spot, kind of like the base of the chest or even a little higher, so that once we press back over the chest. That way the chest is doing the biggest job and the shoulders are engaged, but the shoulders and chest are working in a good balance. Too low, everyone focuses on going low because it's like shortening the bar path and protecting the shoulders, but it's kind of ironic because when you touch it too low, the shoulders wind up doing too much, more like shearing force on the shoulders, so it's counterproductive. We're not developing the chest and we're kind of overloading the shoulders. So a lot of people feel really good with light weights because they move really quickly with that short range of motion, but the problem is once the heavy weight's on the bar, the sticking point is like the worst possible position when it's like super low like that.
What about, how would you cue where to put the elbows in relation to where you touch? Does that have a relevance to each other?
If you find it really hard to touch the right spot with the bar and keep your elbows kind of in tight as you lower it, then it could just be that your grip's a little bit too narrow. So if you arch a lot, your sternum is going to stick up higher and be kind of closer to where your shoulders are at, so then a little wider grip can be pretty helpful. If you're so good at tucking your elbows in that a closer grip, it's impossible to touch the right spot, then maybe it's time to widen the grip.
Take the elbows out a little bit more.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on head position? I've seen guys, big benchers, who lift their head off the bench, but I've also seen ones who don't do that. I see a lot more of the guys who lift their head off also like heaving the bar a little bit more, which I think you're not big on. But I was just curious to hear what your thoughts were on head position.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with the head positioning is if the head comes up, that should just be a byproduct of like engaging the upper back to pull the bar into the right spot. So some guys who are more muscle bound, when they pull the bar and the head comes up a little bit because they're just really tight from here to here. When you see guys who are not that well developed and they're doing it, especially if the head comes up before the bar even comes down, it's not serving that purpose. So it's like they like the positioning, but it's probably better to keep the sternum up and keep the head back, unless by tightening up the back as the bar comes in, it has to come up.
So it should be an automatic thing, not something you're trying to do.
Yeah, if you're pulling the bar in with your back while the bar is getting close, because the tendency is if you just kind of let the bar come down where it wants, it's going to come down and then it's going to drift a little bit lower, because then the triceps don't have to work as hard. They just kind of dump the bar lower on the chest or on the stomach even. But if you actually pull the weight in, then if your upper back is well developed enough and the chest is tight, you're going to pull the head up. But the head shouldn't come up before the bar comes down, because that doesn't really achieve that purpose. So.
I definitely felt a lot more pec recruitment when I did it the way that you said.
Yeah.
So let's maybe try it again. I'll do it the way that I did it before, and then try your cues to see how it changes where the bar is and the bar's range of motion.
Because if you can basically feel what the chest and shoulder should be doing from the warm-up sets, then you're going to build strength as
Absolutely.
you go heavier. If you're not doing it right in the warm-ups, you're not going to do it right in the heavy ones. So the bar pass should basically be like you bring it kind of low and then straight in.
That's usually where I touch.
Yeah, so that's pretty low. Like it just never stops going lower and lower on the chest.
So, more there.
A little higher up still. Yeah, keep the head back. Just tuck it in a little higher, right in here. Yeah. Yeah, so you wouldn't bring it up that extra inch if you're working a little harder on the way down,
Yeah.
which is where you're going to build a lot of the strength and control of the weight. But once the legs move the weight, once it comes up a couple inches, you're going to be in a lot stronger position because it's not so low
It
in
doesn't have
the
to
chest.
move back over your shoulders quite so much.
Yeah.
That's where I'll find a lot of times.
However much you can move it back from the low position, you can move it back just as much from a higher position.
Faster.
And then the further up it goes over the chest, the stronger
Faster just
leverage
lock it
is
out.
there. Yeah. Like if you can push the bar all the way back over the collarbones, you have the best leverage to use all your chest and your delts in the best position. So if you touch so low that you can only kind of push it up where it's low over the chest, it's going to be kind of the weakest leverages.
Yeah.
So it feels good
Because
when
you don't get it back.
it feels good when
in
the
time.
weights are light and you can pull it off.
Yeah.
But once the weights are heavy, your weak point is going to be really bad.
At what point should you be trying to achieve that position that you said is the strongest? I know that a lot of people say keep it tucked until you reach 90 degrees, and then that's when you want to come through. Do you have an opinion on that?
There's different bar paths, but I think if you can drive the weight back with your leg drive, so I think about leg drive as like a horizontal motion. So the more the leg drives can get the bar to move back, the sooner I can flare the elbows and create power.
I think that's one of like the biggest beginner mistakes that I see as well. Is when people go to drive, they drive their hips straight up.
Yeah.
And you're saying that instead they need to push themselves back into the bench and try
So
to.
if you want to,
I saw a video of you like in Russia once benching, and you literally slid the bench
that was
like
a little frustrating, but
5 inches back. Bad memories, my bad. But yeah.
yeah. So like leg drive, if I set up on the bench, just be simple, kind of see this way. Leg drive should take you horizontally. So if I'm here, my leg drive should push me kind of like along the bench. So the bar is going to drift. If my shoulders stick into the bench, then the bar is going to drift this way, where I can flare and press. So that's what I want, is the leg drive to get the bar over the upper chest so that I can press it in a strong kind of leverage position.
Are you thinking? I've heard the cue to extend the quad, like you're doing a leg extension, to sort of incorporate leg drive in that backwards motion. Is that something you think about, or are you literally just pushing back?
I just think about keeping the sternum up, and if you set up so you feel like you're creating horizontal pressure with the legs, that's really, I think it's better to have it where it's more of like a general concept than to like think about each body part as like a separate thing. The more you try to like break everything down into what are the elbows doing, what are the feet doing, then it's like you have to, it's like your brain has to micromanage what your body's doing, and it's going to be awkward. But I think the simple thing of just kind of sliding yourself along the bench, that's a good way to kind of feel what the legs are supposed to be doing. And then when you're actually lifting, digging the shoulders in. So when you slide along the bench, it just pushes your sternum up in the air.
So to wrap it up, I guess the main points we talked about is most importantly where you're going to touch on the chest with the bar, not making the mistake of sinking it too low into the belly or tapping it quite too high like towards your collarbones, but finding that sternum area and then getting the bar back over your shoulders. We also talked a little bit about leg drive and driving back into the bench to be optimal instead of driving your hips straight up. Touched on elbow positioning a little bit as well. And yeah, hope that helped you guys.
Well, we have a gym in Mountain View, California, and that's Boss Barbell Club. So it is open. It's a private gym, but it's open for anybody to come and check it out. Just email info@bossbarbell.com.